All right, so as you can see by the title, my presentation is called CSUF Study Abroad, Student Perception of Support Received in Semester, Summer, and Winter Programs. So study abroad programs are programs where students either visit or live in another country for a certain period of time. At Cal State Fullerton, there are many different types of study abroad programs that students can participate in each year. Although there are a lot of benefits associated with studying abroad, students may also experience some obstacles throughout their study abroad experiences. For example, some students may have trouble applying for a visa or finding valid and transferable coursework, or even dealing with culture shock and being in a new environment while abroad. As a former study abroad participant myself, I wanted to learn a little bit more about students' perceptions of the support they received in their study abroad programs. So my research question is, what are student perceptions of their experiences with study abroad support at California State University, Fullerton? To answer this question, I use a mixed method approach. So for the qualitative aspect of my research, I conducted student interviews with 12 former study abroad participants, and I asked them to share a little bit about their experiences. I then went on to record and transcribe the student statements, and I coded for themes and sub-themes related to student support. For the quantitative aspect of my study, I looked at student surveys that are given by the Study Abroad Office to study abroad students after they return from their programs, and I looked at responses from 2019 in various terms. So for my interviews, I interviewed students from semester, summer, and winter programs. For the semester programs, I interviewed 4 students who completed the Schema Business School program in France, and 1 student who completed the Misefa University of Paris program, also in France. For the summer program, I interviewed 5 students who completed the honors study abroad in Poland, which was an 18-day program where students were also able to receive academic credit. And for the winter program, I interviewed 2 students who completed a week-long trip to Ensenada, Mexico with the communications department. And students went to Mexico and worked with the partner university, CETIS University, and the students from that school. For the interview questions, I asked students about student support they received in 3 study abroad stages. So I had the pre-departure stage, which is all the preparation that students have to do before going on their trip, then during the actual program on site, and then post-study abroad after students return from their program. So for each of these stages, I asked the students to share some of the challenges that they experienced and the support they received at each stage. And I also asked them about their expectations for the program and the outcomes at the end. So after I transcribed the students' statements, I was able to notice some themes and sub-themes that emerged from the statements of the students. So here on the left side, we can see some of the themes that students talked about specifically in semester programs. So students talked about their experience with visa support, their experience with study abroad advisors, financial support, and others. And then we can see various sub-themes that also emerged within these themes. So what were my findings? Well, for the semester study abroad interviews, I found that visa support seemed to be the #1 challenge that students had difficulty with. And just navigating the whole process of applying for the visa seemed to be a complex process for the students. However, when the students were on site, they actually spoke very positively of the support they received while they were abroad. For the Poland study abroad program, students spoke positively about the pre-departure orientation. And a unique aspect of this program was that students were actually able to do a conference call with the Poland staff before going abroad. So that was very helpful in helping students prepare for the program and knowing a little bit about the expectations. This was not something that was found in other programs. For the on-site support, students also spoke very highly of the study abroad coordinator in Poland and the professors. And when it comes to the areas that students felt they could have received a bit more support on was the financial aspect. So not only when it comes to the program cost, but also when it comes to knowing how to manage money abroad. So understanding the foreign currency, knowing whether to use cash or credit, or questions like these. Students wish they would have received a bit more guidance. And then for the Ensenada study abroad interviews, students really like the affordability of the program, the academic. So with the affordability of the program, one student mentioned that it only cost about $400 for this student to do this program, which is very affordable in comparison to many other programs. The students also talked positively about the academic support they received, and the pre-departure and on-site support was also good. And then students mostly in this program, they struggled with some of the logistics of the program. For example, the transportation from California and Mexico and back, they felt it could have been much simpler. And then working with the partner university, students also experienced some challenges working with the students from there. For the student surveys that I looked at, students were asked to rate the statements using a 5-point Likert scale. So here, with 1 being strongly disagree with these statements and 5 being strongly agree with the statements. So what did I find for the semester study abroad programs? Well, the statement related to program information was rated lower than the other statements in the survey. So program information, the statement for that was the information provided for my program was adequate and similar to my experience. So this was a bit lower than the other statements, which aligns with my interviews because lack of information seemed to be a topic that showed up. For the summer and winter program, as we can see, program cost was rated lower in comparison to the other statements. However, if we look at overall satisfaction, the scores are actually pretty high. So what are my suggestions to improve study abroad programs? Well, for semester programs, I would recommend to increase communication between semester study abroad students and study abroad advisors, just because semester students have challenges that students in other programs do not have. However, I think it's also important to create platforms for students to connect with one another, especially former study abroad students with current study abroad students. It could really help close some of those information gaps and help students better prepare for their programs. And then the last, and also I wanted to say that the Study Abroad Office is doing this through their Global Titans Ambassador program. So that is a great start and we should expand upon this. And then the last for semester programs is to provide more reminders and updates to students about their status in the study abroad programs and what the next steps should be at every stage of the study abroad process. For winter and summer programs, my suggestions were to find more affordable study abroad opportunities for students. And I talked to a faculty member about this, and we discuss how even creating more local opportunities could be beneficial for students and also less costly. However, for those programs that do require more funds, providing scholarship opportunities is something that more scholarship opportunities would really benefit students and allow more students to be able to participate in these types of experiences. So what are the limitations of my research? Well, I had a low number of interviewees, a small sample size, and some students studied abroad a few years back, so they also had a bit of difficulty recalling certain aspects of their experiences, which definitely impacted my qualitative results. And for the surveys, survey outcomes may not necessarily be representative of all students who study abroad because many students who study abroad actually do not fill out these surveys. So that also limits information. For future research, if anyone wants to take on this project, I would recommend to interview or distribute surveys to students before they study abroad and then also when they return from their programs to kind of get a more clear idea of the students' expectations and the outcomes. and also look at the impact of social media when it comes to study abroad support. With the pandemic, the Study Abroad Office has posted more information regarding, scholarships, and they have been more active online. So just knowing how social media could be used as a tool to share, program advice, scholarship opportunities, and other aspects could be beneficial for students. So to end off my presentation, I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone for supporting me, especially my mentor, Dr. Swara, the Study Abroad Office for helping me find all the information, and just everyone for the honors program, of course. Thank you so much. Right,
All
and
right,
that is all.
great. Thank you so much, Katie. Again, a round of applause for all the presenters and mentors. I've been leading study abroad programs for 4 or 5 years before the pandemic, so I was definitely taking lots of notes as you were presenting your project. All right, so I would like to, at this point, open it up to the audience and the panelists to see if you have questions for the panelists or if you have questions for each other. Or any comments you would like to make. So while you ponder, I have a few questions that I would love to hear a little bit more from our panelists. So Madiha, as you are entering into the career of medicine, what results, or how do you see the results from your project inform you as a future physician or a medical researcher?
I think for me, just going in the medical field, knowing that undergraduate and college students typically are ones that suffer greatly, even though they may not be the ones that are asking for help or coming for help, because that could be due to a lot of stigmas depending on like Asian American or white, and there's like just all these different ethnicity groups having their own stigmas towards mental health. So me being a Pakistani and a South Asian, trying to kind of combat the stigma and making it, I guess, a priority, or making it readily available and welcoming to those that want to seek help and counseling. So I think knowing that there's a stigma, but just trying to fight that as a practitioner.
That's fantastic. You're absolutely right. There's a meta-analysis, meaning that they look at studies done for like 20 years up until 2019. They found that Asian American are 51% less likely than white American to seek counseling, right? Which is it's just huge. So how, with the results from your project, how do you think as, primary care physicians or folks in medicine, how do folks encourage help seeking, thinking about especially your project is about honor students, right? Who are used to doing really well in their academics and other area. How do we kind of encourage help seeking?
I think very much so talking about the stigma itself, because the issue stems from the stigma and lies from the stigma. And I think that needs to be combated first. And whether that's, I know like as I'm growing older, I've been seeing a lot of Pakistanis or Asians kind of going into the medical field. And so I think that's like one of the first steps is like more Asians or more non-white people going into medicine, so that it's like, okay, these people are doctors, but because they're doctors, they themselves have to know it's okay to ask for help. And that's something that if I was to have a patient that's non-white who wants the encouragement, like I myself am a person that's non-white, I have went through like going to CAPS, and I think just like telling them your story as you've been growing up, like this is what I did, but to kind of help break that stigma and to eventually get rid of the stigma that Asian Americans or non-whites don't need to get help, when in reality it's not a bad thing at all. It's like going to a doctor for a cold, except you're just going to the doctor to like talk out whatever is bothering you, and just making it more of a positive light than a negative light.
Thank you so much. For Jenny, so you wanted to pursue a career in nursing, right? So how do you think the nursing professionals might be able to use information from your project?
Right now, my major is public health, and so I guess mainly looking at this as a public health perspective, we want to look for interventions to prevent like a disease from spreading. Like one of the findings that we found in my research is that like Instagram has a direct impact on body image and disorder eating. So with that information, maybe people from the public health field can create an intervention for that. But in the future, like as a nurse, I think I'll be able to use this kind of knowledge to help educate my patients to just like let them know what are the things that they can do in advance to prevent the same thing from happening again.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Katie, so uh, in your bio, you mentioned you wanted to teach in Europe or Latin America. How, knowing the kind of support that students want when they do study abroad, how might you be able to translate some of the results as you pursue career teaching abroad?
So like how I can transfer my findings into my career? Is that your question? Okay. Um, well, I think that my project was based on, as a study abroad participant myself, I studied abroad in France for a semester and I experienced a lot of, different obstacles. And so the purpose of my project was to help, provide advice to like professors or the study abroad office as to how they could improve programs into the future, in the future. So in my presentation, I couldn't obviously go in detail into every single comment that the students made, but in my paper, I put all of the quotes that students put regarding, different aspects, like housing and like the visa process and things that students thought could have been better. So I think it could help improve programs at Cal State Fullerton. As to for my future career, I'm not sure like how it would how I think it would the experience of studying abroad is definitely going to help me understand or adapt more to what I want to do to like teach abroad. But yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because I taught classes abroad, right? As I lead study abroad classes, and one of the semester actually taught with students from other places as well. And a lot of those challenges that you mentioned, I feel very much as a person teaching abroad that I didn't know how to manage my money in a way that, in terms of credit card versus cash and just how do I shop? When do I shop? How often do I shop? So I was definitely feeling for my students and as well as my personal expenses as well.
Yeah, and a difference that I found between these long-term programs and shorter-term programs, usually in shorter-term programs you have like a faculty that's like leading you, and so that really helps to have all that support. But for semester students, there's a lot you have to figure out on your own. You don't have, a faculty member, showing you all the cool places or like how to get around, and so it is a bit more challenging, I feel, for semester programs, and I hope that, with the research that I did and all the advice will be useful for future students who are, looking to study abroad. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. We have about 1 minute left.
I have a question for Katy.
Yes, please.
I have a question for Katy. Katy, you talked about the complexities of transportation, getting students to their destination where they were to go. And I wondered about that. Was it the flying problem? You had a map of Mexico, and I thought maybe it was getting into Mexico, which I've heard my husband does some work down there with a orphanage, and it's been difficult the last year or so. And then did you see any problem with students with anxiety, homesickness, we used to call it, right? Being away from home.
Okay, so for the transportation aspect, just students had difficulty getting there because there was some confusion about like the meeting spot. So I guess they met at the San Diego International Airport, and then from there, they went all the way to Mexico, like in vans. But some students said they wish they would have just left somewhere closer to Cal State Fullerton, like that their departing point would have been closer to here, because some students ended up having to pay for a very expensive Uber to go all the way to San Diego. And then, yeah, it impacted the students. And then your second question, could you repeat one more time? Sorry. Remind me the second
Sure.
part.
It's about when students are away from home, sometimes for the first time when they do this. If you noticed, is that anything anybody talked about?
Yeah, so the students, so something that the study abroad office does is they have these short videos that they make students watch before they go study abroad. And students found those helpful because one of the videos actually has to do with mental health and navigating that like while they're abroad. So at first, you have like the honeymoon phase where, you know, everything's super exciting and fun and whatever. And then you start to realize, you know, things are maybe not what you expected, or, you know, you have like these lower points, and then it kind of evens out. So that's like one of the videos talked about, and students thought that that was very helpful, and like it did help. So some students did experience homesickness. Some students had, you know, their family members send them gifts from home to like, you know, comfort them. So they did talk about that, but they definitely said that the videos that they showed before studying abroad was helpful in helping them understand what that process is going to be like, and that everything's going to be okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're at the end of our time for this session. I want to thank all of the panelists and the mentors and scholars and family and friends attending this session. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Perez to offer a closing remark for our conference this weekend.
Thank you so much, Dr. Song. I echo a heartfelt thank you to everybody, especially our faculty mentors, to our moderators, to family and friends, to everyone who supports our students. Thank you so very much. Clearly, the work that they've done would not be possible without your support. And I think we all recognize the depth of and the meaningfulness of the work they've done. Particularly from this session, right? Honor students is close to my heart. And so paying very close attention to how to support our Asian American students, how to support our honors students' health and well-being, and to continue to improve the study abroad experience for our students. So thank you so much. We did have, as part of the conference, an opportunity for students to nominate their faculty mentors for the Outstanding Mentor Award. We had 5 nominations, and I would just like to name those faculty members: Dr. Malika Scott, Dr. Justin Tucker, Dr. David Gherkins, and Dr. Yu Ying Sung. So congratulations. That was really great to see that. Jenny, thank you for nominating Dr. Song. The award is going to Dr. Philip Kopp, and he mentored a criminal justice student. And they worked together, I think, for about somewhere between 2 and 3 years on Shannon Patrick's project. Shannon works full time, and there were just a lot of things that went on there. She is going on to law school. And so the support provided by Dr. Kopp went above and beyond the Senior Honors Project, and it was very much a long-term relationship that went beyond the project. But thank you so much to all our faculty mentors. You are instrumental in making these projects happen. I also want to thank our AVP, Dr. Karen Sizemgan, who joined us for the opening remarks. She is the AVP for Student Success. And to our provost, Dr. Carolyn Thomas, who joined us to give the Outstanding Senior Honors Project Award on Friday. So these journeys are always so inspiring, so hopeful for those of us who see the amazing work of you honor students. So keep it up. We wish you all the best as you transition to graduation, graduate studies, and your future amazing careers. Keep in touch with us. We love to hear what's going on and where your research and your lived experiences have led you. So on behalf of the University Honors Program, thank you so much to all the colleagues, all the faculty, and especially to our honor students. Congratulations, class of 2021. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice Sunday. Bye.